Get some analysis now and speak to Orzala Nemat, who is the director of the Afghanistan Research and Evaluation Unit. Orzala, thank you so much indeed for joining us. Do you really feel now that the Taliban will come to the table? But I think possibly just as important is whether the Taliban speak with one voice.
Well, as a matter of fact, conditions that were set in the absence of the Afghan people, in the absence of the Afghan sovereign state, have been pushed forward. The release of 400, which is on the plan, and 80 are already released, is a step forward towards the possibility of an intra-Afghan dialogue in which the Afghan people at least have some sort of representation. Whether the Taliban response to this is going to be positive or negative, I mean, if we move on from the statements of those who are still under custody and giving those statements, the reality on the ground shows something very different. That shows that violence is still ongoing. Civilians are still being targeted. Afghan national security forces are in the war, in an ongoing war with massive, grave violations of the basic fundamental rules of war from both sides, unfortunately. And these are signs that is indicating the road to peace is not really yet kind of realized in a realistic sense.
And what about the Taliban being a homogeneous unit? Whoever represents them at the talks, will every member of the Taliban listen to what those people there say?
Not necessarily. Again, the evidence that we look at from different sites and from different regions is highlighting the fact that there is less homogeneity, especially after the death of Mullah Omar, and keeping that silent. Mullah Rasul was another branch or fraction of the Taliban kind of taking a separate route. Haqqani, although is pretended to be part of the broader Taliban, but it's working on its own. And there is a new element emerging in Afghanistan under the name of Daesh. There is so far no proof of connecting this Daesh with the one in the Middle East, which has already sort of fallen apart. And increasingly in Afghanistan, what happens is that the violence, the massive attacks like the maternity hospital, like, several others, the prison attack just last week in Nangarhar province in Jalalabad city, are claimed by this new emerged group that is not entirely different from the Taliban. So the split seems to be there, although they are trying their best and their supporters and patrons are trying to show Taliban as a homogeneous force. But it seems very difficult to believe it because, unfortunately, what is more evident is that some more violent and aggressive elements within the Taliban are not still agreeing with the peace talks and the peace process. They don't follow the Qatar office statements, and they keep, you look at their statements in the social media, for example, it's full of anger, it's full of violence, it's full of threatenings to every citizen of Afghanistan. They try to say that your days are numbered, we are coming after you, we are going to clean and clear, maybe like basically rule again over the dead bodies and, dead souls.
Orzala, we literally have about 35 seconds to go. Can you tell me very briefly, do the Taliban see themselves as becoming a political party eventually in Afghanistan?
They are hoping and they are trying, at least pre-negotiation, that's their position. But the reality is that the 30 million people, the same people who did not surrender to their rules back in 96, 2001, are now way more different, way more stronger, and they will not surrender to that desire of Taliban setting up their own desirable sort of system and regime.
Okay, Orzala, thanks so much for keeping that brief and really, really appreciate your coming on to the program.